The story begins with an injured girl named Lin, who is getting chased down by a pack of ugly monsters. While running away, she wonders if her little brother managed to secure a beast core. But before she can think about anything else, one of the monsters jumps and knocks her down. After that, they all surround her, and it looks like she will turn into their dinner tonight. But just before one of them can bite her, a spear flies towards them and scares the monsters back. Soon we see a group of warriors arrive on the scene while riding giant wolves. Their leader, Wu Wang, tells the vice commander to let him handle it and proceeds to cast a powerful ice spell. Everyone watches the young leader in awe as he starts flying and farms some main character aura before one-shotting all the ugly monsters like Jinwu. Later that night, we see the young leader dreaming about a beautiful woman, who tells him that from now on they are husband and wife. But before Wu Wang can ask something else, he wakes up with his vice commander's fat face right in front of him. He tells Wu Wang that the young woman that they saved is waiting for him, and asks if they should feed her to the cubs or something. But Wu Wang asks if he is crazy, and they march out to see her. On the other hand, Lin looks around the leader's decorated house, and thinks that he must be really rich. Just then, Wu Wang walks in and sits on his throne and takes a look at the girl. He thinks that she looks really beautiful, and orders a cozy chair for her to sit on, while she thinks the same about him as well. Wu Wang asks her if she has met her younger brother and sister. Lin says that she has, and thanks him for saving their lives, but Wu Wang asks what they were doing in the northern wilderness while being as weak as Jake Paul. Lin explains that they were looking for the beast core of the rumored bird monster called the White Hawfinch to cure their sect leader's illness. Wu Wang says that he has a lot of these cores and can spare one for her, but it won't be free. He says that one of them will have to stay here and serve him for 6 years, and the other 2 can leave with the core. Lin thinks about it for a moment and says that she will stay behind to repay his kindness. Wu Wang smiles and says that her siblings felt the same way and orders his vice commander to send the younger siblings back south on a ship with the core. He also thinks that Lin is really naive but kind at the same time and decides to teach her a lesson or 2. After that, Wu Wang says that his name is Chengba, but he has adopted a Taoist name called Wu Wang and asks about hers. Lin says that she's pretty ordinary and reveals that she became a member of the Wind Moon sect since she was a child and has been practicing under her master, Zerdong, for over 30 years now. She says that their sect has a few disciples, but Wu Wang cuts her off by saying that it's just a small no-name sect with no talent and a mere age of 40. Lin speaks up and says that her master said that a student at the core condensation stage can live 1,000 years. But Wu Wang cuts her off once again by saying that he knows that spiritual and physical cultivation are the main types that people focus on in the human realm. He says that her blood Kai is really weak, so she chose the spiritual path, but she can't even fly yet, showing that she's even below the golden core stage. Hearing all this, Lin shyly looks down and admits that she's just a beginner at the origin returning stage, which makes Wu Wang sigh and call her weak once again. This makes Lin really mad, and she asks if she's really that pathetic. She starts going on about her sad achievements by saying that she practiced alchemy for 10 years, but still blows up the furnace like a noob. Her talents are even below a fresh student, and she doesn't even know how to act cute to her master. After saying all this, she starts crying like a true loser and falls on her knees, calling out to her mom, saying she should have listened to her and married in the mortal realm. Seeing her like this, Wu Wang starts panicking and tries to console her. He tells his vice commander to do something about it, who throws the duty down to a guard who says that he's already married and Lin doesn't have any assets to go after. This makes her want to meet Jesus in the other world, and her dumb soul comes out of her mouth. Wu Wang gets up and tells her that everyone has lows in their lives and she isn't really all that bad. He says that he can't guarantee if she will get any better, but as long as she serves him properly, no one will be able to look down on her. The vice commander also joins in and says that the Wu Wang is the youngest senior star priest in the northern wilderness, and serving him will mean a bright future. Hearing this, Lin gets up excitedly, but Wu Wang tells her to keep her distance, and they all walk off to his room. Once there, Lin asks Wu Wang if they have to do it right in front of everyone and wonders if it's some weird ritual in their tribe before jumping in his bed like the dumb and eager fish she is. Wu Wang asks what she was doing and tells her to first try touching his hand. But when Lin does it, it sends a massive shock through his body and knocks him down. Later that day, we see Wu Wang sitting outside his house and watching the beauties waving back at him from down below. He resolves to find a cure for his weird illness one way or another. But then Lin comes and sits down beside him and asks if he is fine. Wu Wang asks her to not talk about it and calls his men to set up a cozy chair and some sweets with a snap of his fingers. After that, he tells Lin that he wants to go to the human realm when the time is right, and he will reward her whenever she spends time with him. She will have to tell him everything about the human realm and their cultivation methods. After that, he calls her by saying "hey" and says that she must know a lot about human cultivation, having spent decades practicing. Lin pouts, saying her name isn't Hey, but when Wu Wang asks her if she said something, she says that little Hey will tell him everything he needs to know about their cultivation. After that, Lin walks inside with Wu Wang, who asks her a bunch of questions about human cultivation methods and starts practicing with her. He overwhelms her with his insane talent to learn everything quickly and his smart questions that are too much for her tiny bird brain. After learning everything from her, he tells her to put him to sleep by touching his hand and asks her to wake him up by noon the next day. After he goes to sleep, Lin starts reading all the scrolls about human cultivation so she can answer Wu Wang's questions properly, but ends up falling asleep herself. The next day, Wu Wang wakes her up and teases her by saying that little Hey is a real slacker. But then his body starts absorbing spiritual energy, and this makes Lin really surprised. But then his body starts acting up and he coughs some blood and stops. He wonders if his star summoning techniques are not compatible with the human cultivation techniques and starts regulating his breath to reset the flow of Kai in his body. As he closes his eyes, he hears his mom's voice, who's talking to him using telepathy from the Star Temple. She asks him why he's trying to learn human cultivation techniques, and Wu Wang replies that it will help prolong his life and it might help cure his illness. His mother warns him that one's life is decided by fate and the Starry Lords won't like him interfering with it. But then she says that she regrets not being able to cure his illness and lets him continue his training. She gives him an artifact which will keep him hidden from the Starry Lord's eye and tells him to be careful in his training. After that, Wu Wang comes back to his senses and tells Lin that they will go out and take his grandma on a walk now. His grandma turns out to be a pretty chill lady, and she tells him that his father is still busy tending to some affairs with the Long Hair tribe. After that, she says that usually the first trial for a new chief is to fight a 300-year-old thorn-backed beast, but his father has sent for a 1,000-year-old one for his first trial. Wu Wang says that he is doing it for his own good, and the old granny says that she's glad that he understands that. She tells him that she told some of the men to secretly injure the beast, so it will be easy for him because he's her only grandson and she cares for him. She also asks Wu Wang about his illness and if the woman he got from the human realm made any difference. Wu Wang says that it didn't, but promises her to find a cure for it and fulfill their deal of giving her lots of great grandkids. The next day, Wu Wang dresses up for his first trial as the new chief and heads out to fight the thorn-backed beast. After riding into the stadium, they both start running towards each other for a clash, but just before they can strike each other, a shooting star lands near them, and it turns out to be a massive mammoth-like monster that his grandma calls the blessing of the Starry Lords. On the other hand, we see Wu Wang's mom, Lady Kingsu, about to walk out of her temple to help her family, but one of her fellow senior sun priests stops her and says that she must not interfere as it is the rule of the Northern Wilderness. All the other priests also ask her to be patient as it's their job to maintain a balance between all the clans in the Northern Wilderness. Back at the Bear Hub tribe, the star-blessing monster lets out a volcanic roar and stomps the ground, which makes lava erupt from under its foot. Seeing the ugly monster, Lin starts sweating her pants and realizes that it's a man-eating beast from the ancient books called Juhai. She says that a monster of this size must be tens of thousands of years old and wonders why it's here, as the immortals slayed all of them in the human realm long ago. Just then, the monster unleashes a volcanic meteor strike and sets the village on fire. Everyone is really scared, but then they see Wu Wang preparing a massive ice spell in the sky to fight the monster. He tells the vice commander to evacuate everyone and strikes the monster with the massive ice chunk, but it barely does any damage to the massive behemoth. This makes him really shocked, but instead of running away, he decides to face the monster head-on and shoots it with the freezing gale jutsu. But instead of fighting back, the monster simply focuses on the evacuating people, and this makes Wu Wang even more mad. He flies up and decides to unleash his strongest attack and starts creating a massive icy spear. Meanwhile, Lin notices a bunch of lunatics praying to the Star Lady in the middle of the burning village. She asks what they were doing while their chief was risking his life for them. They tell her that it's a blessing from the Star Lady and they must show their appreciation to her. Lin wonders if they are really as dumb as they look, but then Wu Wang's grandma comes to her and introduces herself as the former chief priest of their tribe. She asks her to sneak her to the front line because the other priests won't let her go. But she's the only one who can stop that monster, and she wants to help her grandson. Lin agrees and starts wheeling the old lady towards the massive monster. On the other hand, Wu Wang is reaching his limit and struggles to create the massive ice spear. But then he thinks about his great ancestor, Chuck Norris, and decides to man up for the job. He looks at the monster and thinks if he throws the massive ice spear at it from such height, it will melt before hitting it and will only give the monster a massive shower. But then he decides to combine the wind and ice, starts summoning techniques, and uses wind to create an insulating layer around the ice spear. He then throws the massive spear at the monster with the last of his strength, while Lin drops his grandma off in front of the monster. The old lady tells Lin to tell Wu Wang that she doesn't want him to burden himself with her loss, and that the northern wilderness is too small a place for his great talents. After that, she uses her old granny technique and traps the monster with some earth magic. This allows Wu Wang's spell to hit the monster dead center, and they successfully manage to bury the monster in thick ice and earth elements. Later that night, Wu Wang holds a funeral for his late grandma, and Lin tells him about her last words. Hearing them, Wu Wang runs out and flies off to the monster's location, and feels frustrated with his lack of power. Just then, he hears his mom's voice and goes to meet her in the spiritual realm. She tells him that as the Sun Priest, she would have done the same if it was another tribe as well, so she had to stand her ground this time as well. After that, she asks him if he was hurt. Wu Wang says that he's fine but grandma couldn't make it. He asks her about the start blessing and what did it mean. Hearing this, his mom decides that it's time to tell him the truth and explains that in the ancient Battle of the Lords, the heavenly palace of the Star Lady was winning, and the northern wilderness was her trophy for winning, and that's why lords from the other 8 wilderness can't invade their region. After the war, the Star Lady went to sleep to recover her injuries from the battle, but she feared that someone stronger than her would appear while she's resting, and so she created the 7 Sun Priests and passed down the star summoning techniques to them to control the entire northern wilderness. Whenever the Star Ladies will notices one of the tribes in the northern wilderness growing strong enough to overthrow the balance of power, she sends down the monster that's made from her hair to destroy them. Hearing this, Wu Wang asks if it's to maintain the balance of power. Will it trigger if all the tribes grow stronger at once? His mom says that she can't say for certain, and then advises her son to not go against the will of the Star Lady as he isn't remotely strong enough to challenge her. With that, Wu Wang returns to the physical realm and says that as it's the blessing of the Star Lady, he must accept it. After that, he returns to the village to attend the funeral for the fallen members, revealing that 1,200 people died while over 3,500 people got injured by the monster. He says that these numbers would have been far greater if it weren't for his grandma's sacrifice. The other priests try to console him by saying that it's not his fault and that this was a blessing from the Star Lady. Hearing this, Wu Wang turns around and asks them if they have ever wondered why the star blessing occurs every 100 years and always targets the strongest tribe in the northern region. He then makes up a fancy story about the star blessing and tells them that the Star Lady loves everyone in the northern wilderness, and that's why she sends down the weakest of her monsters to test the strongest of this region. But for hundreds of years, they have all been falling short of her expectations, and no one has ever managed to slay the monster. He says that this time they will show her that they are worthy of her blessing and overcome this challenge, and riles everyone up by adding that he learned all this from his grandma's final moments of enlightenment. Later that night, Lin walks into Wu Wang's tent and says that his speech made a real impact as everyone was excited to take down the monster. Wu Wang smiles and gives a letter to the vice commander and tells him to deliver it to his father and to tell him to gather those powerful clans that have senior Sun Priests. and to tell them that as long as they are willing to send their strongest troops to help the Bear Hug tribe to slaughter the monster, they can have as many giant crossbows and arrows as they want. After that, he puts his dagger into the map and says that he doesn't care whatever kind of blessing it is, but if it harms his people, he will take it down. Back in the Star Lady's temple, we see Wu Wang's mom pushing the other Sun priests back and preparing to go down to help her son. But then one of the priests suddenly grows really strong and casts a binding spell on her. Everyone wonders how she grew so much stronger, but Kwangsu breaks the spell and says that the Star Lady's half-asleep will has taken over the other priest's body. She then tells her that in this life she has chosen to worship the Star Lady, but she cares about her family more, and freezes the priest with her star summoning technique. After that, she tells everyone that from now on, they will side with the Northern Wilderness and provide them with their full support. The next day, we see the Bear Hug tribe's leader, Xinghan, telling the gathered soldiers from the other tribes that his son, Wu Wang, will be leading this battle. Wu Wang thanks everyone and explains the situation before leading them out to fight the stunned beast. Xinghan jumps right away and tries to strike the beast's head, but it summons a meteor and shoots him down like a fly. After that, the Big Wave clan's leader jumps in to show off his power, but gets shot down similarly, making Xing laugh. After that, they both jump together to attack the monster like the meat brains that they are. While Wu Wang watches them from above and face palms, he says that they must do as much damage as they can in this initial attack to make the beast want to attack back at them. At the same time, he starts preparing a sealing spell and casts it down at the beast as soon as it prepares its massive fire attack. The sealing spell makes the fire spell bounce back at the beast, and Wu Wang uses this opportunity to jump down and orders his men to shoot the monster down with empowered arrows. They rain down volley after volley of the massive crossbow arrows and ultimately succeed in taking the monster down. Later that night, everyone gathers to celebrate their victory and to pay respect to Wu Wang's late grandma as well. Here, Wu Wang meets the dumb son of the Big Wave clan's leader, Xingchen, and his macho younger sister, who's totally heads over heels gooning for Wu Wang at first sight. Suddenly, one of Wu Wang's men walks in and reports that something strange has happened to the monster's body, and says that the chief is asking for him to come see it. Wu Wang rushes to the scene and walks down to see the monster's corpse with his father. It turns out the beast's body has turned into a mine of starstone, which is one of the most precious resources in the Northern Wilderness. The chief shows him a large lump that they just mined out and says that this alone would be enough to feed their tribe for a whole year. Wu Wang thinks about it for a bit and wonders if the story that he made up about the Star Lady's blessing being an actual blessing was really true. After thinking about his discussion with his mother from earlier, he tells his father to seal all the information about this from spreading and asks him to bury the place for now with guards stationed to watch over it. His father smiles and says that Wu Wang is smart just like his mother and walks back with him, saying that he will do just as he says. Back in his room, Wu Wang talks to Lin about this discovery while she is bathing. She asks him if they manage to create an effective hunting mechanism. Wouldn't they be able to exploit this star blessing thing like a tea-loving British gentleman? She also wonders if the beast is made up of Star Lady's hair, then what if they get a lot of blessings and she wakes up with a bald head? Just then, Wu Wang tells her to stay quiet as the vice commander walks in and sits down to enjoy a drink with the young master. The chubby vice commander informs the young master that the other tribes have received the promised reward of crossbows for their help, but shows concern asking why they gave such important stuff out as if they were on a Black Friday sale. The young master replies to him that kids like him won't get the logic, and then learns about the border conflict of the long-hair tribe. The big guy jumps up, fuming about how the tribe was really after their crossbows and itches to teach them a lesson. Wu Wang talks him down with some peace talk, but then the vice commander drops another bomb, saying that the priests have orders to join some Star Lady sect, and worries that the sect might overpower them. Wu Wang stays cool and says that he's got it handled. The vice commander heads off, teasing that Wu Wang's father has a surprise for him at the banquet, but refuses to spill the beans, indicating some fishy business. As Wu Wang turns around, he gets taken aback by Lin's beautiful figure, who offers him an advanced technique of demonic path which she got from the market. The young master quickly gets thrilled, but asks the lady about how much she spent on it. Lin brings up how the salesperson pitched the product, which prompts the young man to take a quick peek, but he shuts the book quickly as soon as he sees what's inside because it turns out the overly innocent girl unknowingly bought a book on successful marriage techniques instead. Wu Wang steps out of the palace, teasing if she is that eager to get married. Realizing what she has done, her face burns red as she slams her head against the wall, making the whole house tremble. Wu Wang heads to the ceremony where the vice commander and another man sing his praises in front of his father. The chief has a proud fatherly moment before the conversation shifts to a more serious matter. They discuss how Wu Wang needs treatment for his condition since he is about to turn 18. Concerns rise over the possibility that he might not wake up the day after his marriage. As they go over the various problems that could arise if the young master fails to produce an heir, Daddy stands up, bragging about how he found so many girls for his son, something even his own late father never did, while throwing shade at his wife. Before he can finish, he's instantly frozen in ice, realizing that Lady Kangsu is standing right behind him. Wu Wang gets annoyed and wonders how he ended up with a father like him, and then turns to convince his mother to let him go. She sighs but releases him with a warning to go easy on her son. The chief presents a lineup of exotic and monstrous girls from the slave market. Wu Wang isn't interested, but after his father's insistence, he reluctantly reaches out, hoping destiny has finally chosen him a bride, only to be met with disappointment. He tries again and again, each failure testing his patience. Just as he is about to give up, his eyes fall on an unnamed woman from Yushiki's state of witchcraft. Without hesitation, he tells his mother to keep her as a slave and discard the rest. As the scene shifts, the slave girl, who is actually a puppet controlled by an assassin, is having some murderous intention and wants to seize the opportunity, but her luck runs out as Lin butts in looking for the new slave girl. Wu Wang apparently knows something about her and orders Lin to take her in for the night. Lin takes the slave to her room and offers her a bath. The assassin gets annoyed at being treated like a child and wonders what a girl from the human realm is doing here. Suddenly, Lin casts a glowing blue formation, making the assassin suspicious. Lin casually explains that it's just for soundproofing, then asks if Yushiki has many witches and whether she knows any sinister techniques that turn humans into mindless puppets. The assassin grows uneasy, confused about whether her cover has already been blown. Just then, Lin notices a mark on the back of her neck and asks about it, but quickly changes the topic, turning around to let her bathe. The assassin once again suspects a trap. As Lin walks off to grab a book, the assassin worries she might have discovered the snake immortal seal. The puppeteer assassin realizes that the young master has uncovered their plot and quickly gathers her men hiding in the forest, preparing to flee while they still can. She sends her puppet to attack Lin and catches her off guard. Lin tries to reach for her blade, but the mind-controlled puppet knocks it away and prepares to attack her. Just as Lin is about to get hurt, Wu Wang appears and freezes the slave with a flick of his hand and mocks her for being so weak despite being at the mid-core condensation stage. Lin gets mad at him and says that he knew about this from the start, and Wu Wang explains that he used Lin's innocence to expose the assassin behind the slave. He then uses a glowing sphere to cast a star-summoning spell that brings forth a bow-wielding spirit lady. She shoots a volley of freezing arrows at the escaping assassins, and the next thing we know, the creepy bounty assassins are captured, and their leader is being presented in front of the young master. She resists at first, but when Wu Wang orders her execution, she starts begging for her life and reveals that the assassination was ordered by the Long Hair tribe at the West Wilderness Trading Guild and swears to do anything for him. Hearing this, Wu Wang gets a smug grin and asks what are these things that she's willing to do, but when she replies with a lewd wink, he orders for her to be taken away and says that he is too righteous for such deeds, adding that even without his illness, he wouldn't stoop so low. Later, he slyly instructs his vice commander to spread false news that his mother captured the witch, not him. He then suggests rallying all the clans to take down the Long Hair tribe, promising each an equal share of the territory. As the scene shifts, Wu Wang once again finds himself trapped in the dream realm, where the same mysterious woman calls him hubby. She hugs him tightly before sinking her teeth into his neck like a vampire, then vanishes with a cryptic remark about not taking much longer. Jolted awake, the young master panics, realizing he's on a carriage heading toward the market. Unease lingers on his face as he wonders if his illness is connected to the dream woman or her curse. Nearing their destination, he orders everyone to stay behind while he surveys the market alone. The vice commander and Lin show concern, but he asks them not to worry. As they arrive near the location, Wu Wang disguises himself as a smelly commoner. He spills some liquor over himself and asks Lin for some spirit cores before leaving them behind and ordering them to not follow him. Arriving at the market, Wu Wang orders food and drink and then notices a group gathered outside. Among them, a woman named Ling catches his attention, and as their eyes meet, he wonders if she's the same bride from his dream. His food arrives just as a group of human cultivators sits nearby, chatting about visiting the Bear Hug clan. Eavesdropping, he hears them mention a man named Master Zudong, a name that feels oddly familiar. As their loud chatter continues, it dawns on him that Zudong was once the old master of his little hay. The humans also debate whether the so-called young master, referring to Wu Wang, is truly despicable, even considering teaching him a lesson. Just then, a man on a floating vehicle flies in, complaining about being left behind. The group completely ignores him, making Wu Wang wonder if he's some kind of outcast. The flashy man introduces himself as Jimo and casually takes a seat beside Wu Wang and asks to share his meal. Using telepathy, Jimo tells him to respond by blinking and offers some money for his cooperation. Playing along, Wu Wang introduces himself as Hudai and quickly realizes that Jimo is looking for women to have fun with. Before Jimo can ask further, Wu Wang abruptly shouts that he can't help him find ladies and exposes the guy's shamelessness for all to hear. Everybody around gets mad and tells Jimo that he can go look for fun on his own while they take care of their main business. Jimo says that he won't let his hobbies interfere with their work, but everyone simply walks out and zap away without him. Seeing all this, Wu Wang also decides to head back to his palace. Meanwhile, the human cultivators, having failed to gain favor with the leader of the Big Wave clan, now set their sights on the Bear Hug clan, hoping for better hospitality. Lin spots her master Zudong and rushes over to hug him, showering him with praise about Wu Wang for how much he cares for her. One of Zudong's disciples accuses Wu Wang of using a love potion on her, but the master dismisses it, remarking that Wu Wang seems like a gentleman. Wanting to judge his character for themselves, the group decides to visit him. Unbeknownst to them, Wu Wang is already expecting them, quietly observing their approach as he picks up on one of them acting shady. After that, the guests from the human realm enter Wu Wang's palace. Lady Ling steps in with a flowery effect blooming beneath her feet. Jimo, the pervert, looks disappointed, finding no native women, while the others whisper about the palace's grandeur and the sheer strength of its guards. They speculate on how fortunate they'd be to have Wu Wang on their side, but Ling cuts their murmuring short. Meanwhile, the disciple who insulted Wu Wang is cornered and bullied by the vice commander and a few others. Wu Wang asks his guests why they've come, and Jimo casually formally explains that they mean no harm or are merely here for friendship. The young master replies, playfully reminds Jimo how desperately he was searching for women and catches him off guard. Jimo recognizes Wu Wang as Hudi and asks why he was in disguise. Wu Wang casually replies that he was just playing around and apologizes if it offended him. Ling, surprised by his attitude, sees a different side of him than she expected. The two parties formally introduce themselves, and Jimo praises Lady Ling as a prodigy of the Heavenly Fairy sect for her rapid achievements. Jimo then explains their visit, stating they seek refining materials at a discount for their war against the Heavenly Palace. Instead of offering a discount, Wu Wang demands compensation, arguing the North Wilderness is protected by the Star Lady. Ling challenges his authority, but Wu Wang's vice commander affirms he has full control and praises his mother's greatness. Turning the question back, Wu Wang asks who secretly protects Ling. She denies having a senior, but Jimo releases an origami, exposing their guardian. As the guests depart, Lin asks Wu Wang why he refused the offer. He explains that he wants them to pass a test before earning his trust. He also shares his plan to form a mineral consortium to unify mining prices among major clans, though his vice commander seems too stubborn to grasp it. Wu Wang then asks Lin why her master didn't appear and gives her the choice to leave with him. Lin declines, saying she'll stay for the promised time and that her master wants to meet Wu Wang personally to thank him. Later, as the vice commander returns from somewhere, he spots a fallen person. Rushing over, he finds Jimo unconscious and takes him to Wuwang. A doctor is called, but instead of treating him, he suspiciously sniffs Jimo's wounds like they're ketchup. Only after Wuwang scolds him does he finally heal Jimo. As Jimo wakes, Wuwang questions what happened. The pervert warns that the North Wilderness shouldn't get involved in their fight, as it might drag them down. Jimo tells his story, explaining that they ventured into the North Wilderness, a known gathering spot for untamed beasts. Their trial led them into the territory of a 1,000-year-old beast in the Blood Earth Forest. Overestimating their strength, they were ambushed by an ugly toad monster that overwhelmed them. When Lady Ling was in danger, their senior intervened and blasted the beast away, but it was too tough to defeat. In the end, they had to flee. Wang Lin, the one bullied by Wu Wang's soldiers earlier, met a tragic fate, while Jimo barely escaped. As Wu Wang steps outside, letting Jimo rest, the pervert sneaks off, planning to return to the human realm. He vows to repay Wu Wang for saving his life, but regrets not meeting the clan's ladies. Before he can leave, Wu Wang catches him and asks for a way to contact his allies, offering help. Embarrassed, Jimo hands over a ring, which turns out to hold a closet full of women's clothes. He awkwardly claims they were gifts. Amused, Wu Wang gives him special leather skirts, convincing him to stay and help his allies. They set off, and along the way, Wu Wang splits up, telling Jimo to find Lady Ling while he approaches from the side with his vice commander, Xin. Jimo rushes to the lake and finds Lady Ling lying on the ground. The eerie calmness makes him suspect that she was placed there as bait to lure them out. He wonders why Wu Wang hasn't shown up yet, but then spots his senior, Lady Yin, arriving with gravely wounded Wang Lin, whose golden core is destroyed beyond repair. Jimo and Yin decide to retrieve Lady Ling and leave, but as they approach her, Wu Wang suddenly appears with his blade pointed at her. Mistaking his intentions, they assume he is going to hurt her. But before they can do anything, Vice Commander Xing appears and separates Yin and Jimo by pulling Jimo to his side. Wu Wang questions how Yin protected Wang instead of Jimo and exposes her true motive for this trip. He reveals that she plotted all this herself and wanted to gain favor with Jimo's clan and make Wang Lin a hero so he may gain some influence as well. Yin says that it is a nice story and they shouldn't waste more time and head back to the Bear Hug clan. But Wu Wang stops her and uses his star summoning technique on Wang Lin. He says that he doesn't allow infiltrators in his house and pulls out the shadowy savage beast aura that was hidden inside Wang Lin. He tells the vice commander to hunt it down and then turns towards Yin to deal with her. All this makes Yin really mad and she decides to unleash her old granny aura as well. Jimo warns Wu Wang that Yin is as strong as an immortal, but Wu Wang says that it doesn't matter, which makes Jimo really surprised. He thinks Wu Wang is a true aura farmer like Jinwu, but then Wu Wang steps forward and uses his ultimate technique by calling his mom and asking her to save him. Unaware of the young master's mommy and her powers, Lady Yin manifests her technique, but instead gets smited by Kangsu from the sky and loses all her aura points, wondering how a young boy like him could do this to her. After that, Wu Wang heals Lady Ling and asks Jimo to heal with the old hag as well. On the other hand, Vice Commander Xing battles fiercely against the ugly toad monster, delivering a relentless beating as he grabs its tongue mid-air. Wu Wang, sensing a faint human scent from the creature, keeps a close watch. Meanwhile, Jimo struggles to overpower Lady Yin, while Wu Wang faces Wang, who suddenly rises and heals himself in an instant. Accusing Wu Wang of being a spy, Wang taps into dark powers, morphing into a demonic beast with horns. He attempts to drink a drop of blood, but Wu Wang toys with it until it spills onto the ground. Enraged at losing his father's gift, Wang swears to kill him, but Wu Wang is already setting off 600 spheres in response. The toad monster proves weaker than expected and is quickly dealt with. As Wang falls, Jimo returns, dragging the old hag by her collar. Ling stirs awake, but before she can even thank Wu Wang, she gets drenched in toad remains and faints again. Back in Wu Wang's domain, he argues over why the lady refuses to come out of her bath. Just then, Ling appears, blushing as she thanks the young master before vanishing, leaving a trail of flower petals behind. Jimo smirks, telling Wu Wang he's lucky to be among the few ever thanked by her. He then prepares to leave, saying he needs to report back. Before parting ways, the two share a moment of camaraderie, and Wu Wang secures a deal to trade his minerals for some healing pills. As Wu Wang prepares to leave for the human realm, his vice commander insists on accompanying him, teasing that he might faint if a girl touches him. To prove him wrong, Wu Wang asks Lin to touch him, and this time, instead of getting shocked, he activates a technique that encases him in icy armor. Just then, he notices his father watching with a somber expression. The old man, saddened by his son's departure, hands him a sword, saying that all he and his mother wish for is to see him return safely. As Jimo departs for the human realm on his ship, his master approaches from the shadows and praises him for exposing the 10 Evil Hall's spy, and says that he will report everything to the house and the decisions moving forward would lie with the elders. After that, he vanishes away and Jimo turns towards Lin, who argues that they should be grateful to Wu Wang for saving them. She says that he has been nothing but sincere with them and Jimo acknowledges this. But then he says that Wu Wang might be watching them from his sphere right now, and we zoom out of the scene only to find Wu Wang actually watching them from his room. His mother speaks through the pendant and says that she worries about him venturing into the complex human realm. He reassures her, saying he understands the risks, but the world is so vast and it's fun to explore it. Just then, Lin arrives with some snacks for him. Wu Wang tells her that she didn't have to go through the trouble, but she insists, saying it's the least she can do. The next morning, Wu Wang steps outside to stretch and gets excited by the scenery around him. He rushes over to Lin's room to share the view with her, but stops when he overhears her master advising her on how to become a couple with the young master, saying she can't remain just a maid forever. Lin tries to argue, scrambling for an excuse, but ends up blurting out the lamest one, claiming Wu Wang isn't interested in women. The old master gets suspicious, imagining all sorts of things, while Wu Wang, standing outside, grows furious. By afternoon, the ship crew announces a break. Wu Wang heads to a nearby village for some fresh air and notices that the minerals there resemble the ones from his home. As he looks around, his eyes meet a salesman who stares at him intently. Wu Wang wonders if the guy is a disciple of the Four Seas house, but before he can walk away, the salesman dashes in front of him, shoving a cure for women's diseases in his face. Wu Wang asks why he's being shown that, and the salesman realizes he mistakenly grabbed the wrong scroll, the women's treatment guide, instead of the men's. Wu Wang mocks him, recognizing him as a rookie, and tells him he needs serious improvements in both his attire and professionalism. He tosses the man some money, calling it an investment, then takes his leave. As the ship departs, the old man sneaks aboard and slips into Wu Wang's room like a ninja. To Wu Wang's shock, the man seems to know exactly who he is. Grinning, he winks and claims he can restore Wu Wang's confidence if he wants his condition cured. He introduces himself as a doctor, boasting that even his disciples have lived over 3,600 years. Realizing the geezer has been searching for him just to treat his so-called illness, Wu Wang eagerly holds out his hand, agreeing to any experiment as long as he gets healed. As Lin tells her master she's going to serve tea to Wu Wang, her master stops her, revealing that there is a guest on board which she mustn't get near. Ignoring the warning, Lin steps out, only to find Wu Wang already standing with him. In an instant, the old hotshot puts her to sleep, casually claiming he just enhanced her affinity with a special pill. Without wasting another moment, he grabs Wu Wang and teleports them to a distant place, piquing the young master's curiosity even more. There, the old geezer finally introduces himself as Lianshan. Hearing the name, Wu Wang argues that he nearly mistook him for Shenong, the legendary emperor of medicine. But before he can finish, Lianshan drops an unexpected truth that he truly is Shenong, the very same ruler who has reigned over mankind for the last 8,000 years. Lianshan takes Wu Wang to his humble house and sits down with him to eat. He explains that his strange ailment traces back to the ancient battle of the immortals, making it difficult to cure, but reveals that he knows a cultivation technique that will naturally cure his illness once he masters it to the 9th level. Hearing this, Wu Wang's eyes sparkle with excitement as he eagerly asks about the technique, already dreaming of finally getting the taste of marriage. The old geezer tries to scare him off by warning that mastering it could make him the next emperor, but Wu Wang remains unfazed, confident he can handle anything. Seeing his determination, Lianshan reveals the Yan Emperor's decree and tells him that if he can earn its approval within a month, he can claim it as his own. As the scene shifts, Wu Wang is seen training as if his life depends on it, tackling the first trial of the Yan Emperor's decree, which requires him to cut down 100 trees without using magic. He takes it as child's play and works tirelessly until nightfall. The decree then reveals a black orb, and after consuming it, he feels revitalized, ready for the next challenge. The second trial appears, instructing him to build a storm-resistant human cottage without star techniques. Taking it head-on, he spends days working and finishes in half a month, realizing he had a hidden talent for carpentry. Before he can celebrate, the third trial takes him to a waterfall, where he must redirect the water to his cottage. Finding the task easier, he completes it in another half-month. The fourth trial seems like a joke, as he is merely asked to relocate the old house's belongings to the new one and arrange them neatly, calling it the ultimate challenge of migration. Laughing it off, he finishes by nightfall and rejoices at obtaining the Yan Emperor's decree. Just when he is done, an old wooden box bursts open, scattering its contents. Among the mess, Wu Wang spots a wooden plaque identical to the ones from his challenges, realizing he has been tricked and the decree was merely a bluff. As frustration builds, the old geezer Lianshan arrives, laughing, while Wu Wang, seething with rage, chases him through the forest. The next morning, the so-called decree reappears before Wu Wang, revealing that the previous trials were just a joke and the real one is about to begin. Outraged, Wu Wang fumes at the old geezer for making him do so much free labor, but he knows he's too weak to fight him. As he sulks near a fire, he accidentally burns himself, making Lianshan burst into laughter. The old man boasts about reaching the 8th level of the so-called technique and even becoming immortal at just 100. Wu Wang mocks his age, and to teach him a lesson, Lianshan summons a storm cloud behind him. Though worn out, Wu Wang refuses to back down, determined to make the old geezer pay. Later that day, Wu Wang offers Lianshan some iced tea, which the old man drinks without a second thought, only for Wu Wang to gleefully announce that he made it using materials from the latrine tiles before flying away. Thinking he's escaped, Wu Wang takes off, but the old geezer dashes after him, keeping their cat and mouse chase alive. After catching up, Lianshan hands him some cultivation pills, claiming the future of humanity rests on his shoulders. When Wu Wang asks how many people he has told that to, Lianshan admits he's lost track of them. Wu Wang quickly swallows the pills, only to realize the old man tricked him again. Joking that he almost forgot about Wu Wang's illness, Lianshan hands him another pill, and once again, Wu Wang takes it, still clinging to hope for a cure. Meanwhile, Lin waits for Wu Wang and asks her master when he will return. Back at Lianshan's place, Wu Wang undergoes intense training with the old geezer who seems to be enjoying it far too much. Frustrated, Wu Wang suggests they start taking each other seriously, and the two then reveal a whole bunch of traps they have kept hidden for each other. Lianshan then boasts about the emperor's duties, emphasizing their significance. Wu Wang, unimpressed, questions if an emperor should be wasting time here and asks about the immortals, wondering if they truly live forever. Lianshan explains that immortals are born with Tao, granting them eternal life. When Wu Wang asks how long he must stay, Lianshan tells him he must reach the core condensation state and the 3rd level of the technique before the mighty wooden plaque enters him, making him immune to spiritual death once. He then adds that Wu Wang will be sent to a women's country in the south and can choose to help them with his powers if he wishes. Back in the hall, Wu Wang watches as the old geezer summons his ministers and discusses a method to extend his lifespan. Once they leave, Wu Wang asks how many years he has left, to which Lianshan casually replies that he still has over 300 years. Shifting the topic, the old geezer warns him to stay vigilant against the 10 evil sects, emphasizing their danger. Wu Wang asks if one can sense evil through their soul, and when he mentions having identified someone evil using his technique earlier, Lianshan, pleased, assigns him the task of investigating the sects. He then presents 2 rings, asking Wu Wang to choose one. With some flattery, Wu Wang manages to take both. As a final gesture, the old geezer throws him out and, as a parting gift, implants the technique into him, instructing him to cultivate it to the 9th level. Sent flying, Wu Wang suddenly finds himself drowning in water. Wu Wang finds himself escorted to the women's country by a lady drawn to his looks, who turns out to be Feng, the first-ranking general. The night before, after being tossed away by his master, he accidentally landed in her bath and casually walked out, brushing it off as a misunderstanding. As he stepped outside, a group of female soldiers immediately aimed their weapons at him. But Feng, now in full armor, arrived and ordered them to lower their bows. She mentions that this is the first time they've seen a man in 100 years, but her guards, having never seen one before, refuse to believe Wu Wang is any different from them. As Feng approaches, Wu Wang instinctively jumps back due to his ailment and warns her not to come closer. He then challenges her to a duel, declaring that the loser must obey the winner's demands. Feng, thinking of presenting him to her queen, accepts and swiftly defeats him. Wu Wang, who didn't use his star summoning techniques, stood no chance without them. The thought of being treated as a gift haunts him, prompting him to reveal his true identity as the young master of the Western Divine Wilderness. Soon after, he finds himself in a carriage, escorted to meet the queen. On their way to meet the queen, Feng curiously asks Wu Wang if men can conceive babies, prompting him to correct her misconceptions. She then explains that in the women's country, untouched females can bathe in a divine pool to give birth, but only to baby girls. Wu Wang also learns that the entire place is sealed by a massive barrier, preventing anyone from leaving, making him wonder if there's a way out. As they pass by some statues, he senses a dark aura and realizes they aren't as lifeless as they seem. Just as they near the queen's palace, a soldier approaches Feng, addressing her as general. She informs her that the request to meet the queen has been approved and also reports an intruder who infiltrated their territory and took down 16 of their women. As they enter the palace, they are welcomed in with a fancy performance, but then Wu Wang notices a guy hanging up in the distance. On a closer look, it turns out that it's none other than the pervert, Jimo, who was yet again looking for women and got caught. Jimo asks Wu Wang for help, but Wu Wang ignores him and asks the guard if he was the one whom they wanted to cut up into 1,000 pieces and starts suggesting more ways to torture him. Wu Wang also finds Lady Ling there and learns that she and the creep arrived 3 days ago. Realizing that Jimo caused this much chaos in just 2 days, he tells them to do whatever they want with him, while the pervert keeps begging for his life. Curious about how the soldier managed to capture him, Wu Wang asks, only to learn that he was caught red-handed committing serious crimes. Suspecting something must be off with him for the soldier to capture someone this strong this easily, the women decide to take Jimo away for investigation. Meanwhile, they warmly welcome Wu Wang, calling him a divine envoy. As the scene shifts, the young master is asked to preside over the court to decide Jimo's fate. Following Wu Wang's order, Jimo explains his side of the story, claiming that after being taken to the Prime Minister's mansion, he got drunk, was led away by a singing lady, and woke up barely clothed. He insists he hasn't committed any crime. When the victimized women testify, it starts to seem like Jimo is telling the truth. One of them mentions seeing a scar on the culprit's back, and when Jimo is asked to show his, it turns out he really is just an innocent pervert. Realizing there's a third man in their country, Wu Wang informs the Prime Minister, who immediately orders the nation to be sealed off. Jimo is finally freed, and the moment his chains come off, he regains his strength, immediately challenging the general to a fight. As the battle unfolds, Wu Wang senses something off and warns Ling that the guard behind her seems suspicious. Ling swiftly exposes the disguise, revealing that it was the queen all along. The Prime Minister demands an explanation, but the queen simply tells her to come to the palace the next day. As night falls, Wu Wang tends to Jimo's wounds after his battle with Feng. Ling joins in, and the three discuss their reasons for being in the women's country. Wu Wang shares some of his situation, conveniently leaving out the old geezer's part, before heading to his room. Later, while Wu Wang spies on Jimo, the queen suddenly appears. Fascinated by him as the first man she has ever seen, she seeks information about men and women, and Wu Wang offers to talk all night. Just as their conversation barely gets started, a knock on the door forces him to hide her in the closet. Ling enters, complaining that she never got to thank him properly, but another knock forces her into hiding as well. The Prime Minister then walks in, only to end up hiding too when another knock follows. However, this time, Wu Wang's pendant glows as his mother warns him of danger. prompting him to cast a spell that blasts the door open. Just then, the scene cuts back to the assassin named Ganfin who spies with his familiar from atop a tower for his mission against Jimo. It turns out he was the one who drugged the poor guy and framed him as the guy who assaulted countless women, all so he could finish his last mission and live a happy life in the nation of women. But unfortunately for him, Wu Wang ruined his plans and now is ambushing him, hoping to take him down in his sleep. But as he makes an explosive entry, he's attacked by a bunch of icicles right before Ling catches him from behind and tries to cut him down. He barely manages to dodge her attack and uses his technique to send some dark tentacles after her, but she blocks and dispels them with a light barrier. After that, they jump forward and clash their blades, but Ling dominates him, making the assassin feel frustrated. Ganfin tries to overwhelm her with his dark magic, but Ling effortlessly blasts it away, making him wonder why she's so strong. Soon, Jimo joins the battle, followed by the Prime Minister and Her Majesty, who pierces Ganfin. After that, he looks for a hostage to make his escape, but makes the wrong choice trying to assault Wu Wang, who whips out his larger dragon and sends him to the Shadow Realm. When the guy awakens, Wu Wang immediately interrogates him to spit out who sent him. But the guy starts to glow an ominous purple before committing unalive and leaving nary a trace behind. As they regain consciousness, Wu Wang thanks Her Majesty for setting up a trap to protect him, thinking she predicted this. Yet the princess nonchalantly teases him not to forget tomorrow's celebration. The next day, Ling blushes as she watches our divine envoy nap peacefully, when Jimo ruins the movement by yelling that he's cleared of blame after the weirdo last night showed up. So Wu Wang thanks his bro and is surprised when Jimo stresses that he has to return his piling favors. After they set off, Jimo suddenly asks Wu Wang if he'd like to join the Four Seas house, which reminds our protagonist that it's one of the two sects his master warned him of, so he asks him for a good reason to join. Jimo yaps about how it's even more prestigious than a Diddy party, but still fails to give a good reason. He finally says that the elders can recommend him as a candidate for inheriting the Yan Emperor's decree, which tells Wu Wang that it's quite a special thing, but he gives it a pass since he can't abandon his clan for the prestigious house. After chatting for the whole journey, they arrive in the Nation of Women, where Wu Wang and Ling receive a grand welcome, while Jimo's entry really turns them off. While Wu Wang is lost figuring out what the purpose of his mission there is, Jimo turns his attention to the pregnancy pool and pervs on the priests. The Prime Minister then leads Wu Wang to Her Majesty in the palace, but on his way, he senses a horrifying beast that the Prime Minister says is their guardian beast. When they enter the palace and the princess rushes to shake hands with him, our Chad refuses to touch her. After that, the princess drags Wu Wang away to show him her humble abode, and the rest follow after to keep an eye on the two. Inside her chambers, she invites him to swing with him, and as he passes through the curtains to find a dazzling garden which coupled with the princess's beauty makes his heart flutter. They swing till evening, and he asks Her Majesty about her relationship with General Fenge. Having said enough, the princess offers to show him her private collection, and when he asks if his friends can join, Jimo says they are busy and flashes him a cheeky grin. But it seems that he's actually scheming something with Fenge as a trial from the Four Seas house. Later, when Jimo and Ling are playing chess, she blushes as she tells Jimo to be more gentlemanly and attractive like Wu Wang. He smiles and teases the shy lady for finally falling for a man, and concocts a plan to get to know him better by getting them drunk, and suggests they get the ladies in on it as well. At night, everyone gathers under the tree where Jimo compliments Wu Wang's animalistic drinking capacity. Seeing that their plan isn't working, they all nod in agreement and start offering Wu Wang their special wines, but Wu Wang claps back by summoning the strongest liquor from his nation and gets everyone to drink in big bowls. He gets everyone to chug them one by one till they're all drunk beyond reason and black out. As he starts feeling dizzy, Wu Wang realizes his drink was spiked and encases himself in ice. Just then, Jimo cuts the act and apologizes to his brother before administering the antidote to the Ling and the general. Ling gets suspicious and asks him to explain himself, so Jimo argues that Wu Wang doesn't wish to join their sect, so they'll have to finish the mission alone. With that, General Fenge leads the way after she caringly covers the princess, which debunks Wu Wang's theory that she's the rebel. After reaching the top of the castle, the lady shoots a flare into the sky and tells her soldiers to seal the castle, marking the start of the rebellion. As a kid, she was a sacrifice who broke free while wandering around and stumbled upon a giant beast who literally sucked the sheer life out of another girl, leaving nothing but skin and bones. This left Feng so traumatized that she made a break for it, but she knocked over a sack on her way, which drew the guards' attention. All of them surrounded her and asked the head priest what to do, to which she replied that they should put her down and never repeat the mistake. Seeing the little girl burst into tears ignited some sympathy in the young princess, who begged the priest lady to allow the girl to live as her guard, saying they'd already sacrificed too many. Jumping back to the present, Feng destroys the hidden entrance to the guardian beast's dwelling and rallies her troops that it's time they discover the truth. She storms down the stairs with her squad, followed by Jimo and Ling. While Wu Wang is still encased in his ice barrier and busy trying to figure out Feng's motives to go against the queen, Feng reaches a chamber where she rings a massive bell that summons all the sacrifices. After sharing that they were given false promises of seeing the outside someday, Feng moves on to the pregnancy pool and reveals that the goddess abandoned them and left behind a ferocious guardian monster to protect them, which requires sacrifices, which Wu Wang has also deduced. While he escapes from the guards coming after him, Jimo and Ling clear out the way to the monster's chamber, where a priest asks General Feng what she's doing there. Fuming with rage, Feng shouts that the nation survives in exchange for human lives, and the queens have kept that fact hidden far too long. She asks why innocent nameless girls have to be sacrificed like this, and the priest lady says that they should be grateful to the deity keeping their country alive. But Feng is fed up and adamantly announces that she has chosen to betray those worthless deities. With that, the trio of fighters unleash their powers and surround the monster. On the other hand, Wu Wang freezes the guards and heads off to the underground chamber, where Jimo brings the monster to its knees while Ling incapacitates it with a barrage of the most powerful human realm magic. But the guardian beast remains unaffected, and after it blows her away, the general charges up her ultimate move and gets ready to deliver one last sacrificial finisher. But out of nowhere, giant spikes of ice emerge from the ground and Wu Wang inquires if they have a death wish. With that, he lectures them that one must always immobilize a massive beast first and uses his icy orbs to freeze all of its limbs. Seeing this, the soldiers ask why Feng didn't just ask Wu Wang to wreck the monster from the start, and seeing her smooth brain unable to process it, Jimo says that his brother is pretty swole. Just then, Ling uses her fairy flute to empower Wu Wang so much that he nearly crashes like a Boeing 737. Watching her cutely smile at him, Jimo becomes jealous, having never experienced her magic. Wu Wang's steam roasts the guardian beast until it suddenly summons a crimson light from its tail. Jimo warns Wu Wang that it's a soul-destroying spell, but he pretends to face it head-on before appearing from behind and impaling the monster with enormous spikes. After that, as Feng lunges to finish off the beast, Wu Wang tells the feisty woman to chill out. He says that before she chooses the fate of the women's nation, she should come out with the truth. He loudly questions if she forgot to tell something to her comrades, but Feng scoffs and throws out another lie. So Wu Wang reveals that only the Queen and Prime Minister know that the monster is their nation's core maintaining the giant barrier. The guards quickly start second-guessing what their general told them, and when she refuses to answer them, Wu Wang exposes that the 108 statues just outside the barrier harbor bloodthirsty beasts that will annihilate their country once the barrier goes down. Hearing this, Feng finally speaks up that she has the finest warriors guarding the borders, but Wu Wang gives her a reality check that just one of them butchered half his tribe. After Jimo and Ling voice their concern over such an unjust country, Feng's memories flash back to a young princess who asked her to save her from becoming a heartless queen like her predecessors. Just then, a worried prime minister rushes in and asks what they've done to the queen. But before Wu Wang realizes what she meant, Feng unleashes her ultimate move and finishes off the queen in one shot. After its body vanishes, the queen's crown falls to the ground and Feng is blasted away like Team Rocket when she tries to destroy it. As everyone chases the crown, Wu Wang finds it revolving at the pregnancy pool. Jimo rushes in and manages to freeze it briefly before getting blown away. Seeing that he's able to hold it back, Wu Wang tells his buddy to hold off the crown while he saves the princess from Fenge. After scratching his head for a moment, Jimo begs his master to help him in exchange for giving up on the trial, and when the geezer shows up, he confesses that the trial was always a darn scam and decides to retire from the Four Seas house. He uses a binding spell and instructs Jimo to help Wu Wang, who is currently taking back the princess from Fenge. After he succeeds, the Prime Minister reveals the general's crime to the princess, who apologizes for it. Seeing Jimo's Master Zhu struggle to bind the crown much longer, Her Majesty realizes that it's time she wears the crown and meets her fate. Wu Wang stresses that her bloodline would end, but she reveals that she has a hidden sister and asks him to fulfill her last wish of embracing a man. As she wholeheartedly hugs his ice-cloaked body, the lady says her goodbyes with a sad smile. Seeing her walk to her death, Wu Wang starts thinking about Master Shenong's advice to rely on his star summoning techniques in times of trouble. Suddenly, it hits him, and after he stops the princess, Wu Wang grins and asks the lady if she'd like to learn belief collecting. He then explains that her ancestors have failed to sustain the barrier because of a limited human lifespan, and it can be done even though the technique has never succeeded before. Wu Wang peers into her loving eyes and asks her to believe with him, while Master Zhu looks constipated as he begs them to hurry up. The princess puts all her trust in Wu Wang, so he tells her that the fate of the nation depends entirely on her imagination and perseverance. Her Majesty leaps at the crown without hesitation and is swallowed by the whirlpool. Wu Wang then instructs the others to promote her status in the nation's eyes and erect a monument, followed by miracles to boost their belief in her blessings, and lastly, top it off with a magic formation. Once they're done, Wu Wang hands over the blueprints to the Prime Minister and tells her to keep it secret. As she assures him, Master Zhu adds that the Four Seas house won't remain silent, but Jimo says that he'll handle them. Meanwhile, Shenong interrogates a red giant on revealing the location of a legendary herb on Kunlun Mountain by hanging him like a pig. The next day, Wu Wang touches the monument to check in on Her Majesty and share the good news with everyone that she's doing great. In the evening, Jimo's master praises his big brain design that made the belief technique a reality, but Wu Wang calls it dumb luck. Master Zhu then strokes his beard like that one creepy uncle and inquires if he's into Lady Ling, but he immediately friendzones her. The man then entertains the idea that the princess was head over heels for him, and the guys have a good time drinking and laughing. Jimo's master then finishes off the formation and Wu Wang invites him to come to the victory banquet, but the man says he's busy. In the middle of nowhere, Master Zhu meets a lady and a guy from the Four Seas house and asks why they called him even though he resigned. The man pressures him to answer for Jimo and Ling's withdrawal from the trial, but the old man says it's none of their business. So the guy then asks him to help convince Wu Wang into revealing his blueprints for the fabled belief technique, which Master Zhu outright refuses to get involved with and ignores the ninja lady's surprise attack with his back turned like a legend. At nighttime, Jimo welcomes his elders to the banquet and showers Wu Wang with praise as he leads them to the banquet. His grandma tells him that although it's the first time someone called the loner a friend, he shouldn't get over his head, which Jimo wryly laughs off. The ladies are then shocked to hear a mad groovy beat coming from inside, which Jimo introduces as Wu Wang's new invention called the disco. But the moment they see Ling let loose like a party animal, they're absolutely disgraced and yell at the uncouth lady. After the party, Ling feels really embarrassed and asks Wu Wang how much she drank, while Jimo tries to comfort her that he'll talk to the elders on her behalf. As the guys leave to go talk to them, the lady shyly reveals that she actually had a breakthrough after hitting some sick moves, and the reason she's upset is because the elders gave her a thumbs up when they heard that. Wu Wang then decides it's time to leave and gives Jimo and Ling their parting gifts. A fan that shoots needles and curved straws to make drinking through her veil easier for Ling, who blushes in sheer embarrassment. Jimo then seizes the moment and offers to join him on his search for hotties across the world, but Wu Wang shuts him down saying that he'd just be a burden. Just before he leaves without notice, Wu Wang says his goodbye to the princess's statue. Her Majesty suddenly manifests herself and circles around him excitedly as she tells him that he's welcome to enjoy a drink with her anytime when he feels tired from his journey. On his way, Wu Wang flies through a barrier and takes a short break. He suddenly hears Master Shenong's voice complimenting his achievement in the women's nation. But then the ninja lady and weirdo from 4 Seas show up out of nowhere. They demand that he meet their higher-ups without putting up a struggle, and the ninja lady holds him at gunpoint and declares that their sect holds great authority over all matters of the human realm. But before she finishes, Master Shenong shows up behind the 2 idiots and incapacitates them. The old man goes on a rant about how they've sullied the authority of the house he founded. But Wuwang tells him to chill out and enjoy his new invention called Lollipop. Changing the subject, Master Shenong tells him about his dangerous trip to Kunlun Mountain in search of a spiritual herb and asks him to join for the ride as he could offer some advice. Wuwang recalls that the Western Wilderness is the Queen Mother's turf and smiles that he won't be of much help. The geezer laughs that he'd appreciate Wuwang helping him fulfill his final wishes and teleports away. While camping in the Western Wilderness, Master Shenong shares his disbelief at how fast Wuwang resolved the women's nation's century-old problem and shares the story of how belief collecting was used just once in all of humanity's history. A long time ago, the war between deities raged for years till Emperor Qin emerged as the victor and knocked out the competition. He was the one who divided the world into 9 wildernesses, of which the south, now populated by humans, was seized by the fire deity, who ruthlessly oppressed the humans as inferior bugs, something that really gets on Wuwang's nerves. Master Shenong continues that a single human discovered how to create fire from wood and waged war against the fire deity by spreading the taboo knowledge, which resulted in him being banished to the ocean. But centuries later, when the deity vented its anger once more, the man split the ocean like Jesus, and when the fire deity tried to squish him like a bug, Jesus sent him flying with a blast. The graceful human then approached him like a JoJo character and ended the deity's rule once and for all. At the time, none of the other deities intervened since they despised the fire deity, but they were terrified to see that a mere human was capable of shattering the soul of a divine being. That man was Suiron. After that, the heavens retaliated, but the humans led by Suiron defeated them and even took over half the continent, until the exhausted human negotiated with the heavenly Emperor Qin and inherited the southern wilderness. He concludes that the main takeaway is that humans must stand against the deities for their rights like their ancestors and pass on the spirit to their descendants. Having said that, Master Shenong tries to sell Wuwang that inheriting his role is a blast, but our protagonist doesn't buy his sad attempt at brainwashing him. Wuwang says he is excited to become a strong hero like his master and Suiron, so the old man gifts him an alchemy pot. Curious, he also asks his master why even immortals have a lifespan, to which Shenong answers that it's a limitation set by the heavenly emperor. With that, they teleport to the breathtaking Kunlun sanctuary, where the aura completely overwhelms Wuwang. Suddenly, the lightning beast Luwu makes an explosive entry followed by 3 more monsters who they have to defeat. Master Shenong sighs and asks if Wuwang peed his pants a little, which he honestly confirms since he is a weak scrub. So the old man tells him to wait for him on the island and yeets him in a portal. After flying through space like the time machine from Doraemon, Wuwang crash lands on a deserted island with a sweet beach house. As he lay there, he wonders if the master lied to him about having a successor and scammed him out of a blessing before ditching him. He decides to take a nap, but finds himself woken up by a bird that only says Jinwei like it's a Pokemon. Wuwang asks the cute birdie if it saved him and offers it a fruit. But the savage birdie yeets it away and brings him a golden fruit instead, which regenerates him on the inside completely. He asks if it can understand him and annoys it by saying Jinwei again and again until it poof into a girl in a shrine maiden outfit. Unable to believe that it was a girl, he desperately asks her to become a bird and sit on his arm again, and when she lands on him with her human feet, it feels rather soft than a painful shock. Crying in happiness, Wuwang accidentally peeks up her dress, and she launches him into the ocean. After a while, he apologizes to the pouting lady, and seeing her fly around a bit, Wuwang concludes that Jinwei doesn't shock him since she's the spirit of a human girl, and after repeating her name a couple times, he realizes that she's Master Shenong's daughter. It suddenly hits him that she is the final wish his master wanted him to resolve, and smirks as he realizes that the old man hooked him up. Looking at the only girl in the great wide world he can touch, Wuwang is unable to hold back his excitement and proudly declares that he'll definitely become the old man's son-in-law. which hits Jinwei's tiny bird brain a second later. Meanwhile, somewhere in the mountains, a guy walks out of a portal and the lion beast roars at him before bowing down to his insane aura. The guy then teleports away, and that's how Season 1 of The Little Master's Better Life comes to an end.